All right, it is Super Bowl week. SNL is live, and in a familiar place watching the Super Bowl. Really, you could have said that last week, conference championships, but that's kind of where we are and where we have been. Cody, we'll get into some draft stuff, but this is the final week of the season. I call it kind of a celebration of America's game as we get to Sunday. But as we approach this thing, there's a dose of reality that I want to give, but is there anything over the course of watching this that has kind of come to your mind that maybe didn't after the Texans won, or maybe the week between, that gives you like perspective of the organization or anything?
This is going to be the season where for the rest of time until they go there, that this is the team I felt very strongly could have been playing in the Super Bowl. That's the more last week was a little bit about, dissecting and kind of looking at how the two teams got there. And it's just like, I just think about this Texas team this past season, more so than any team they've ever had. I feel like they could have won the Super Bowl and could have at the very least played in the Super Bowl with this team. And it's a pretty big gap between this team and just about any of the other teams that have ever been in the playoffs for the Texans. So that's really kind of hit home as the game week is here and you start to see everybody make their way out to San Fran.
So I think there's kind of, as I look at this, I think there's a dose of compromise and reality from this Super Bowl that I think as I've been gathering everything that Caserio's has said and everything that we've heard about CJ Stroud and what he said after the season, and D'Amico Ryans, and what we heard from Hannah McNair. I think this is really the reality of where the Texans are right now. I think the ultimate goal should be to win the Super Bowl. Regardless of what you've done in the past, I think the ultimate goal should be to win the Super Bowl. Would you agree with that? Regardless of if you've never been to a conference championship, I feel like the goal should be to win the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. I think that because the Texans have never been to the conference championship, which is actually quite pathetic when you factor in that they're only one of four teams that haven't been since they've joined the NFL. They're one of four teams. And most teams have been multiple times. So it's really not like a massive accomplishment, but on the scale of the Texans organization, it would be a big accomplishment. I think because of that, whenever the season ends the way it did, you think about, man, we almost had it. And you almost get the feel as if just getting to New England would have been like making the Super Bowl. And when you hear Nick Caserio say, well, this is one of the best stretches in franchise history, it makes me kind of question, and I'm going to get more into this tonight. It makes me kind of question, like, what exactly your standards are. Like, is your goal to win the Super Bowl, or is your goal to just be better than what the Texans have been, which, as I've said, is pretty embarrassing to be one of four that haven't been where you almost went. So as we're talking about this, and we're talking about the game itself and the fact that the Texans lost, there's a couple of different types of voices that are emerging. There's the people who say, well, it was all CJ Stroud's fault that they lost that game, and CJ Stroud wet the bed, and 31 other quarterbacks could have won. And there's the other side that says, well, on the other hand, CJ Stroud didn't have enough around him, and CJ Stroud didn't have enough weapons, and all this, and the offensive coordinator and stuff. And then you have the other side that says, well, he actually had enough around him to win the game. In the big scheme of things, though, if your goal is to win the Super Bowl, I don't know that really matters, because I do agree that CJ Stroud wet the bed in that game. And I do think that he had enough around him to get to the AFC Championship game. And in the big scheme of things, I don't know that really matters, because even if they go to New England and win, they're going to have to be in the Super Bowl. And they're not in the same ballpark as Seattle when it comes to roster and when it comes to
go to Denver and win and play the Super Bowl. You mean?
Yeah, okay, Denver. Yeah. If they go to Denver and win, and they get in the Super Bowl and they play Stidham, then all of a sudden they play Seattle, and then what? Then we see what a complete offensive coaching staff looks like. We see what a complete roster looks like, and we see that they don't have a Super Bowl team. So we're talking about getting to a certain point, but I don't think that point should be the goal. And I think that Seattle is in a different stratosphere than the Texans when it comes to roster, when it comes to coaching staff. So I don't really know that it really matters on one side or the other. The question is, like, what are the standards? What are they trying to do?
I mean, I feel like they definitely felt they had a chance to win the Super Bowl, and they were going to try to win the Super Bowl. I'm sure conversation from them would be, oh, well, you have to go here to go here. But I understand what you're saying. If the goal is very much go where you've never been, but you sort of settle at, oh, well, they were in the conference championship. Like, that was good. This was a Super Bowl caliber defense. It didn't get to the Super Bowl. Now, I think when you look at the team, you have to look at all the reasons why it didn't get to the Super Bowl. And maybe there is an element of play it out. Like, hey, would they have won the Super Bowl if they'd gotten there? They probably are bigger dogs than the Patriots in this, just because the way their offense had operated. Like, at least the Patriots have showcased a little offensive explosion here or there. The Texans really haven't showcased offensive consistency. So they might be in the same conversation. Now, obviously, if they're here in this game against Seattle, it's because of the defense. Seattle had already a crack at that defense. It didn't look like it was too tough for them. And they really probably would have iced the game in that matchup earlier in the year if they hadn't done that silly-ass trick play. So, yeah, it would have been a tough outcome probably, but I think most people would tell you that defense gives them a chance at anything, but I don't think that's also the modern way to approach an NFL team either. Like, I think you've got to be a good enough offense every week, and they just haven't been anywhere close to that.
But the discussion, I think, is like, how does the discussion change if they lose to Seattle versus if they lose to the Patriots the way they did? Like, how does the discussion change? Because right now it feels like it's just, oh, we could have gotten there. I don't think do you trust Nick Caley and CJ Stroud for that matter against Seattle with 2 weeks to prepare, with Kubiak getting a second look at you? Like, do you really trust them?
No, I probably wouldn't pick them to win. No.
So that's the issue that I have right now, is that we're arguing about whether they could have gotten there, what they could have done, and I think it would have been a full exposure of every weakness they had if they faced Seattle again, and we would be having the discussion on a different level. But the problem,
but we wouldn't have to worry about the first time they've ever been to the conference championship discussion ever again.
But my point is, I don't think it matters. I think it's a distraction at this point. I really don't think that it matters. Like, I just think I like when I see Nick Caserio go up there and say, well, we've done as much in this stretch as we have. I don't think it should matter. And I think we're often blinded by mediocrity here. That's the issue I have, is that I think there's a blinding of mediocrity where it doesn't matter if you get to the conference championship. Like, that's cute. But like, I'll point to like let's look at it this way. TCU. Remember when TCU made the national championship against Georgia? No, me neither. Who gives a fuck? Like, they got their ass whooped. And it really doesn't matter. Like, it just making it to a conference championship, just making it to a Super Bowl doesn't really matter. Like, when you reset the entire organization and you clear up the cap space and you maximize the draft equity, and you get to and you lay out a perfect layout for D'Amico and Caserio that they had. I don't care about just getting to the conference championship. I don't even think it should be a discussion anymore. I think we should be past it, because if they beat New England and then they go to Denver and lose, what does it really matter? Oh, well, we got further than we've ever gotten. Okay, cool. So now it's only 3 teams that haven't been there, and 29 have, and most of those 29 have been multiple times. Like, I'm tired of. I feel like Nick Caserio is doing like a victory lap because he put together a team that maybe was good enough to get to the conference championship. Congratulations. Did you put together a Super Bowl caliber squad? The answer is no. They're not in the same ballpark as Seattle. And quite frankly, I think that I don't know that they even go and win in Denver with the way that they were playing and with the way the offense was functioning. So that's my problem.
Would a trip to the conference championship or a trip to the Super Bowl change their approach in the offseason? Like, would it have made them a tiny bit more aggressive, willing to spend some of the additional assets to get that one player closer or, move things a little bit? That would be maybe my question about, would it change any of their approach if they'd gotten a little bit further? Or maybe it's one of those things where it's kind of a close to along the lines of what you said. It's like, hey, we're actually really far away from them. We need to operate this offseason to get in their category.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is you don't want to be too reactionary in situations like this. And I look to the last two examples we have, like historically, of teams pissing away chances to get in the conference championship or in the playoffs. And the two most monumental collapses that we've seen with this opportunity was 2019, where the Texans were up 24-0 to the Chiefs, and they ended up wetting the bed because B.O.B. didn't have a play, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
They acted very, 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 very brashly that offseason. Like they acted a little bit extreme that offseason, one would say, by trading away DeAndre Hopkins, basically handing the keys to the car to Bill O'Brien, when we already knew he had the keys to the car, by the way, but they just basically told us that. The POS, Jack Easterby, like all that type of stuff, pissing off Deshaun Watson to where he wanted to leave before the scandals. That's one example. Then we have 1993, and that was the year after the Oilers-Bills meltdown. You had ownership, Bud Adams, come out and say, basically everyone's ass is on the line, and I'm bringing in Buddy Ryan. Buddy Ryan's going to be the defensive coordinator, and they ended up choking again. And then they just completely blew up the team. So I do think that you've got to be somewhat calculated, but I also think you got to be somewhat bold, because I also think there's kind of a threat of perhaps in this day and age in the NFL getting kind of complacent. So I don't know, like when I hear Nick Caserio talk and when I hear CJ Stroud talk, and then I see Hannah McNair talk, I just feel like her sense of urgency is a little bit above Nick Caserio's. Like, Bill O'Brien was forced, and he fucked it up, but Bill O'Brien was forced to basically stop kicking the can down the road. Like he went from 3 out of 4 division titles, I think that's pretty good, to I'm football king, bye-bye DeAndre Hopkins. And he basically just made his own bed, and he had to lie in it. And he's the coach at Boston College right now. I feel like when I hear Nick Caserio talk, and even to a certain point when I hear CJ Stroud talk, I just don't know that they have that standard where they're actually really striving to be Super Bowl champions. I don't hear it. Like when CJ Stroud says, I played well after that Pittsburgh game, I just wonder like what the standard is. And then 5 days later, we saw what we saw. When I hear Nick Caserio go up there and say, yeah, we built a good enough team. Yeah, you're right. But you built a good enough team to do what? Be the best version of the Texans, or did you build a good enough team to go win the whole damn thing? That's what and maybe he did build a good enough team,
and the quarterback messed it up,
and maybe that's where we're at.
Yeah.
But I just don't know what they're striving for.
I think there's two ways to. I don't believe they should be lumped in with the way that they talked about the season necessarily. I understand that the comment about the best 3-year stretch in franchise history. I mean, you won more games, you went down in the seeding. Like that, I think that's a notable element of 2026. Yeah, well, we won more games. Cool. You went lower in seeding, winning more games. Like the season definitely requires a little bit of context. I think CJ Stroud's a lot closer to loss than Nick Caserio is. And I still think about that operation between 2023 and 2024 from Caserio, where that felt like, and perhaps a large element of it was wrong. He felt like they were pretty good. They pushed a couple of chips into the middle of the table, went and got Stephon Diggs. They went and spent the money on Danielle Hunter in free agency. That felt like that's not all of our chips, but that's a significant bet, a significant wager on that season. It ultimately didn't go that way. And then at the end of the season, they had a lot more picking and adjusting that they needed to do with the roster. So there wasn't another big chip push in. They had to adjust and change some things. It gets this result. And I wonder if maybe they look at this roster, they have a few more things settled than a year ago. Maybe Caserio's back in that mode from a couple of off seasons where it's like, hey, let's see if there's that couple little elements here we can really push the chips in, keep rounding this thing out. Now they're in a different team operation because they're closer to paying all this big money and having a lot more. He had a lot more freedom 2 years ago. So I don't think he's like, I don't think his track record totally matches the CJ track record to lump them in together.
But they are lumped in together, though.
I would agree that they're very much tied to each other because of the things you can change in the next couple of years, or you'd want to change. The quarterback and the GM are a lot closer to the change list than the head coach for me.
Yeah, the head coach shelf life is and always has been the longest shelf life. Like, he's going to get to oversee it. He's going to get to figure out, like, before the heat is even up for DeMeco, like, we're a long time away from that. There's never been a point where he's had to figure that out. Now, I do think that they're going to have to figure out the offense. And shout out to everyone in the chat joining us here during Super Bowl week. We are 3 weeks away from being live at the NFL Combine. We look forward to talking to you there. Draft season will really intensify. We're celebrating the final week of the season and kind of localizing it here with you. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And they are kind of lumped in when it comes to Caserio and Stroud.
Like if who's closer to getting changed out, Caserio or Stroud? I think Stroud's closer to getting changed out than Caserio.
I mean, CJ has 2 more years. You're obviously going to pick up the 5th-year option, but you pick up the 5th-year option whether you want to trade him or not. Like, that's a no-brainer.
The 5th-year option's like automatic business that you do anyway.
I would say right now, who did their job better this year? I think that Nick did. Like, I think this year Nick Caserio did his job better than CJ Stroud. But I still think there's work that needs to be done. Like, there's a hell of a lot of work that needs to be done by both of them. I don't know how bold they're going to be, but if you ask me that, yeah, I don't know if either one of them really is. I think we're a year away from even entertaining the possibility of either one of them being gone in any scenario.
I would tell you that the 2027 offseason is going to be either one of the easier off seasons they've ever had or a torturous off season, because it's either going to be, yep, CJ did good, let's go ahead and get him paid and let's figure it out, or CJ didn't do good enough and they're looking for the next CJ. And then that's up to DeMeco Ryans to determine if Nick Caserio is the guy that needs to look for the next CJ.
Yeah, I think we agree it's up to DeMeco Ryans. Like, DeMeco Ryans is the one that's calling the shots. We would agree on that.
Swarm.
Sean James 6944. Afternoon, gents. How'd this weekend go? TriStar was a blast. It was a fun time.
Yeah, saw a lot of folks out there and
very fun time. A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, a lot of just
not a lot of luck with the box break, but it happens.
Yeah, I mean, you got a sweet Riley Leonard patch card.
I thought it was a Tyler Warren.
Saw Colts and rookie, and you're like, yes, here we go.
Thought it was Tyler Warren.
Riley Leonard. Okay. All right.
But I do think we got to kill the AFC ship talk. Like it's some sort of accomplishment. Like, the talk about the AFC, like getting to the AFC championship game, you know what it kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of the Cinderella that gets to the Final Four that has no chance to win the whole tournament. Like, just go ahead and cut down the net and hang it in your office. And why even show up to the Final Four? Just go get you some T-shirts that say Final Four and put it in the office. Like, it's not an accomplishment to get to the AFC ship. I don't care whether you haven't done it or not.
I would like for them to just have more than one home game before we like focus on things that make you competitive in trying to win the Super Bowl that year. Having multiple home games at home in the playoffs would be nice.
Yeah, but I see even the way that's said, I think is getting funny because.
Yeah, but that's about trying to win that year. I mean, I'm not trying to make it the Texans haven't done this before.
That's about building the best team in the league. Like but it's always funny that the way that it's discussed, where it's like, we got to get home field advantage and, we got to figure this out. Usually the best team in the league gets home field advantage. Like, actually, more times than not. And I know a lot of times the scheduling kind of plays into favor, but usually the best team in the league gets home field advantage. So
go be the best team in the league.
Then we need to start saying it like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying right now.
It's like some sort of luck. Like there was some lottery and the Seattle Seahawks got home field advantage throughout. Nah, I mean, they were the best team in the league. And they're still the best team in the league, and they're favored to win the Super Bowl. Like, New England was the best team in the AFC. We can talk schedule, all that. Texans lost to all 4 teams in the conference championship weekend. So like this notion that like you draw a number and all of a sudden like you get home field advantage. You go try to be the best team in the league, which is what they should be trying to do in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Don't start slow. Don't blow it late in games. Beat some playoff teams and make everything go through you. Be the big dog.
Kenneth Walker. Is Kenneth Walker the offseason dream for you?
I think he's dream 1B for me. I would love Kenneth Walker on this Texans team. He's been fantastic. His average season in the NFL is 1,400 total yards and 9 touchdowns. He's been in a timeshare for a lot of his time in Seattle, so it's not like he's just this guy that's just been, run into the ground here in the past 4 seasons. He'll be expensive, but he would be an absolute game changer for this Texans team if they got him in the offseason.
Yeah, for me, it's either Breece Hall, Walker, or Rico. I think you need to swing for the fences when it comes to the running back position at this point. Like you need to swing for the fences and you need to draft. So I think the an elite run game. I don't think it should be optional at this point, and I don't think it should be dependent on an offensive line. Like you need to find someone who can make a Mixon-like impact, and it's not going to be Joe Mixon, and it's not going to be as cheap. But you're gonna have to find that guy, and you're gonna have to. It's gonna have to be one of the top 3 guys. There's really not an alternative outside of that. So that would be where I would start, and then you can adjust accordingly and figure out whatever you want to figure out with the draft and the other cap space. Because there's a myth that the Texans have like a lot of cap space right now. No, they don't, because it's like 2 years from now they're gonna have to pay a lot of guys. So it's if you think that they have a crap ton of cap space right now, you're not really looking at it the right way with having to pay Will eventually, CJ, maybe, who knows, Aziz, all these other guys, Bullock, Lassiter. They really don't have a ton of cap space. The good news is though, when they've kind of kicked the tire and some of their low level guys, that's kind of where they've done their best work. So I almost feel like the Texans are better at balling on a budget than they are heavy price free agents, with the exception of Danielle Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's certain areas you can go ball on the budget, but running back would not be one of those spaces. I mean, you pay above market value for a running back a lot of times, especially if they had free agency. That's fine. If they are going to make you the best football team, we just had the conversation. How do you become the best football team? Well, take a little pressure off of the quarterback spot because it didn't handle it very well. Learn to run the football a little bit better. You get the offensive line right with the rushing attack, and maybe things are a little bit easier for the quarterback that had a tough time when they put something on his plate and he fell apart in the playoffs. So, there's definitely some bargains to be had throughout the course of this team, and you're going to need some of them to be successful. You're also going to need to just pay top market for some of the stuff that you want. And I would like for the Texans to get a big running back name, and I would like for them to pay what it costs. And if it costs, $12 million a year in average annual value, well, that's the cost of doing business with free agent running backs.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like a last year. It's really the last year to capitalize on whatever you think CJ Stroud is or isn't. Assuming that he's not going to get some contract extension, and even if he does, it's going to get pushed back. It's a bargain. Where CJ Stroud, where his salary is compared to the type of player he is. Like it's not, that's the other difference. Like when you talk about CJ Stroud and you talk about some people bringing up Davis Mills, it's like, we know that CJ Stroud's better than Davis Mills, but if CJ Stroud's a $50 million quarterback and Davis Mills is a $10 million quarterback, that's where you kind of start to look at it. But with CJ Stroud on a rookie deal, regardless of what you've seen in season 1, 2, or 3, pick a season, it's a bargain. It gives you a lot of flexibility. And for as bad as we've seen CJ Stroud on any given Sunday and any given play, he can be really, really good. So for just the immediate future, whether it's the upcoming season or the season after that, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, the window of, the rookie quarterback thing, that's gone. You're in just like that last little vestige of not expensive quarterback play more than likely. Because if CJ works out, then eventually he's going to be expensive. If CJ doesn't work out, then you either start over with a cheap guy or you have to go sign a veteran. But you're in that last little window where it's like, he's not the rookie super deal anymore, but he's not expensive yet. So what do you do with those last little waning moments of that? Is that a time to invest in one guy or spread the wealth amongst a couple other positions? It would be interesting to see, and it'll be largely how they handled the O-line, the wide receiver room was going to be largely how I judged Caserio last season. How you handle running backs and, again, the offensive line room is kind of where I'm primarily analyzing him right now.
So how much would you pay Kenneth Walker?
I mean, if he would take the Josh Jacobs deal that Josh Jacobs signed last offseason, I would do that just because it's $12 million a year. I think he's probably going to want more than that and probably has a sound argument at getting more than that. But $15 million a year, I mean, that was Derrick Henry, a little bit more proof of concept, but he's also 31 when he signed that deal. So I think you're looking somewhere between $12 to $15 million. I'd probably creep into the 13 and a half or so million a year for Kenneth Walker and see if you can get that deal done. 3-4 year deal, something along that lines, and just have him be the guy you're turning to at the running back spot. Now that probably limits you from doing a bunch of other stuff in free agency, but it gets you a running back.
Yeah, and the good thing is they don't have a ton of holes. I mean, they have holes, but there's no like urgent. There's flexibility in there, especially through the draft, and especially through like low level free agency where they can figure. You got your left tackle, you got your corners, you got your wide receivers right now. So it's not like you're in like the expensive markets. They're not shopping in the overly expensive markets.
Yeah, you don't have to go pay a defensive end $100 million in free agency. You don't have to go pay. I mean, you can if you want to. Probably wouldn't hurt my feelings. But you don't have to pay a guard with a small resume $20 million a year to play guard if you don't want to.
Yeah, I'll probably not do that. So I was thinking about this when it came to what we've seen in the NFL and kind of like the consequences of the mistakes that have been made that have made this Super Bowl possible. And you look at the Vikings firing their GM. And I know Rossini's thrown out a lot of stuff about maternity leaves or whatever, like all that, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is they basically got rid of Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold went on to play in the Super Bowl, and the quarterback that they ended up holding on to sucked. Like that's really the basis of what that is a fireable offense for a general manager. If there's ever been a fireable offense for a general manager, it's bring in quarterback resurgence after 1 year, move on from quarterback resurgence continues, goes to another level. He plays in Super Bowl. You have a disappointing season, and the guy that you selected and the guy that played is one of the worst quarterbacks in football. That's typically what will get you fired. Like, you can do a lot of things, but that will get you fired. Like, Chris Ballard can fuck up in a lot of areas, but as long as it's like, okay, well, there really wasn't an option here at quarterback, he can hang around. How do you look at, let's say 2 years down the line, if Clint Kubiak goes on to become a really good coach with the Raiders and he wins the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold, he wins a couple of, I don't know, he starts winning with the Raiders and Mendoza, and the Texans are still kind of shuffling on the at OC. How do you look back? I'm not sitting here saying it's fireable, but how do you look back at D'Amico Ryan's decision to not get Kubiak on his staff and instead go with Bobby Slowick and then Nick Caley? Because it's not like this is like a crazy hypothetical. Like, we thought that Kubiak was going to end up on this staff. McClain talked about it, but they went with Slowick, and Kubiak ended up going to San Francisco. He then went to New Orleans, and now he's in Seattle. How do we look back at that? Is that kind of looked at as almost like the one thing that held back the Texans? Because if you look at the CJ Stroud situation, obviously if you had a time machine, you go back and you make Kubiak OC and you let him and CJ figure some stuff out. And I think you're probably in a pretty effing good position right now. I think we would agree you're in a pretty effing good position right now. As history goes on, if Kubiak continues to do what he's doing and the Texans offense continues to do what it's doing, how do we look back at that?
Well, it'll look back like they not only did they miss on Bobby Slowick the first time, but they took too long on Bobby Slowick the second time. They took over about a week to figure out Bobby Slowick, and it never gave them a chance to even interview Clint Kubiak. Clint Kubiak took the Seahawks OC job on January 26th. Bobby Slowick was fired on January 24th. So, I mean, they never even had a crack at him the second time, in addition to the fact that whatever they were offering, whatever they were putting together the first time was not attractive enough to him to get him in the building and have him interested in sticking around the building as well. So they would have gone 0 for 2 on that guy that seems to have it figured out and seems to have a idea about how to operate an NFL offense.
And it also happens to be a name that's very revered around here. I think D'Amico, it means a lot, but the timeliness I think is a good point by you, because the Bobby tiptoeing and stuff was strange. They didn't make the decision. We wonder what was going on, and then he ends up going to Seattle. And I gotta think, I don't know this for a fact, I gotta think that trying to work with CJ Stroud and what the Texans had, if you're just laying all things out in Houston, where your dad's from, it probably would have been more appealing at the time than going to Seattle and working with Geno Smith and whatever the hell they had in Seattle. And I don't even I feel like that would have been a no-brainer. Now, maybe the system change was already decided and they'd already decided we want to go Patriots, but you got to think that would have been more appealing.
Oh, I would. Absolutely. Absolutely. That had to be a much more appealing job. And just from a timing perspective, the Texans season ended on the 18th of January and they fired Bobby Slowick on the 24th. Most of these teams know what they're doing on the day after or the second day after the season ends. So they had all the time in the world to get rid of Slowick and at least talk to Clint Kubiak. Because if you talk to Clint Kubiak and he's like, yeah, I'm so far along in this Seattle thing, I'm not really interested in interviewing. I know I'm going to get this job. I'll go here. At least you got a crack at him. Or you could say, well, don't go there, come here. They never even got a swing at the guy because they took too long on the Bobby Slowick stuff.
Yeah, I just the Clint Kubiak thing is fascinating, especially if the Texans don't figure out whatever the hell they're trying to do on offense. So, yeah, it's kind of where we're at. That's the the overall thoughts of the Super Bowl. We'll try to mix in some draft and everything else that goes on here, but that's just kind of the.
I do wonder. Because their official OC interview list in 2023 was Kaylee Slowick and Kingsbury. That was their official list. I do wonder if it ever popped up that they thought about just let's just go to Clint, because they didn't even interview him as the OC in 2023.
Well,
he'd been an OC before with the Vikings.
Yeah, and you look at 2024 when he was working with the ghost of Derek Carr and Spencer Rattler, head to head against Slowick. Year 2 Slowick, which sucked. The Saints actually averaged more yards per game slightly than the Texans, just barely, and 2 less points with what the Texans had, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, two less points and more yards the Saints averaged than the Texans.
They were missing Kamara for part of the season. They had all those different challenges on offense. Olave in and out of the lineup. Their O-line stunk. Yeah. I just don't know why they never hurried to make the point of at least touching base with Clint Kubiak.
And maybe they did touch base behind the scenes. We know how that works sometimes. Maybe that did happen. But I don't know. Maybe he was just like, F y'all. Y'all didn't want me in 2023, and I went to San Francisco, so F y'all. Who knows? I think McClain would have a pretty good idea. We've talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, there's an argument to be made that if you can't ever figure out the offense because you can't ever figure out who the offensive coordinator is, that's a huge ding to you being a head coach. So that's something that D'Amico Ryans, they're clearly sticking with what they've got on offense. They've yet to They've yet to make wholesale changes to the offensive room. I mean, they've made big changes, certainly, but they have never made wholesale changes to the staff and the offense in the same offseason under DeMeco Ryan. So he's still got that button to push if it doesn't work in 2026. But if we're talking here at the end of the 2026 season, they still didn't figure the offense out. And this OC and that, we have another Clint Kubiak that like, hey, they could have hired that guy or they could have gone somewhere different in the offseason and they didn't. Then we'll start adding a little bit more blame to DeMeco's ledger. Yeah,
and you got to wonder if it's neglect or just incompetence or just bad luck. Who knows?
There's maybe an element of worried about, getting a reputation of running through offensive guys, and I would say run through them till you find the right one.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. I don't think they should worry about that. What is the best way to watch the Super Bowl?
I think at home with a smaller group.
No big Super Bowl parties. No.
You add too many casuals to the pool and it gets too watered down. You think you need some like-minded individuals watching the Super Bowl with you. If you had too many people that like just started paying attention earlier in the day, it just the mood kind of gets thrown off a little bit.
It is the most lazy, like just chill with the fam type of day for me at this point. Like we still get the snacks and stuff, but as far as going to a Super Bowl party, you never get a comfortable seat. You got to go to work the next day, so you'll get hammered. And it's just like if the game gets good, it feels like the better that the game gets, the less enjoyable it gets to watch. Like it feels like if the game is like not good, then you can focus more. But if it gets better, then more people are asking questions, more people are doing all the other stuff. And the other thing is like I'm not really into the commercials as much anymore, but there's always like it's always kind of a little bit of a buzzkill when there's a large group at a Super Bowl party who make it a real point to like really hype up the commercial break while they're talking and not giving a shit during the game. I feel like it's like a bad vibe. It's like a bad PA guy. It's like, oh, we're back to commercial. And they run up and then all of a sudden the game comes on and they're just like stepping away.
I would have bet $1 gazillion the commercial people bothered you for sure.
I mean, I don't mind commercial people that are actually watching the game too, but there's a portion of people who aren't even watching the game, and then commercial.
See, yeah, that's the thing is there's no like when you have the wrong mix, you get a lot of people that won't care about the commercial, and there's never any just like chill moment. Everybody's just always like
Yep, no doubt. On the chat, Sean James asks,
Swarm
tier list for Super Bowl snacks / apps this week.
Chips and dip are at the top.
Yeah, chips and dip is very simple. It's not you don't have to get a plate for it.
Many chips, different varieties, as many dip varieties as you can.
You got to have a good queso. You got to have a good salsa. Hell of a good. Don't overthink the sour cream dip. Just get the hell of a good. If you want to like get a red dip, mix the hell of a good with some paste. Very easy. Hell of a good is a game changer. Screw this lady's like homemade dip. Nah, just get the hell of a good. Get a few. You're good. Yeah, stick it. Or just stick it in a bowl and say that you made it, and everyone's going to be asking for the recipe. And then you can just say, nah, it's a secret. Hell of a good. So you got to have the chips and dip because you can either post up or you can take the plate with you and figure it out, sprinkle it. So that's not too something to be overthought. Some people say wings, but I mean, like if it's a big party, there's a lot going on there. Like people are sitting on the couch. Like I almost feel guilty, even if it's not my house, with all these nasty ass people just walking around with like wings and like their hands all over the place. Like I feel bad.
Yeah, well, if it's traditional wings too, like there's a messiness element to it. If it's not just stabbing boneless wings, there's a messiness element to it. So yeah, wings are better suited for like a hey, that's the only thing we're doing, or we're at a place getting wings more so than like, I'll have a wing here with my dip and my other things. And
I don't think you can go wrong with like just traditional hot dog. I really don't. Like that's very simple. Won't mess up the house too much. hot dogs with the ketchup, mustard, relish, all that type of stuff. I think that's a top tier. Very easy to make too.
Yeah. Have you seen the people do the like the make ahead, like the Hawaiian rolls, but they make the whole thing at once, and then you just individually get the rolls out? That's always a good one. So you get like a mini sandwich that people don't have to like build their whole ass sandwich.
Tastewell says French onion dip is 10 out of 10. Have you tried Hell of a Good? If you haven't tried Hell of a Good, get Hell of a Good.
Yeah.
Get Hell of a Good. It is hell of a good.
Yep.
It is insane. But I mean, like potato skins, some people will say potato skins. Potato skins are solid. It's hard to make a lot, though. It's hard to make a lot. And if Cody Stutes goes first and there's like 20, he's going to take 6. So then all of a sudden there's only 14 for the whole party. So that's kind of you're kind of in a dilemma there with the potato skins. It's limited stuff, and then Cody's going to take 6 of the 20.
I'll never make you potato skins ever again.
And then they'll make another batch, and then Cody's going to take 6 more of the 20.
Shut up. No, I'm not.
So all of a sudden, this party of 50, we only got 28 potato skins.
That's not yours. I've never eaten 12 potato skins in my life.
Shit. Beer brats, Beer brats,
I like having a dessert dip too. You know, so if you have something like dip some fruit in or some pretzels or something, a little dessert dip at the end.
I think the cheese and meat, the charcuterie board can go hard.
Yep.
I think it can go in. It's big for everyone. That it can get pricey, but you can actually manipulate that and make it a very affordable thing. It's a must.
Yeah.
The queso in the crock pot up there.
I tell you what, man, everybody's got an air fryer these days. It feels like it's not hard to throw together a whole bunch of taquitos and have those available too.
The air fryer wings now. The air fryer wings really set it off right now.
They've improved the technology either on the air fryers or the wings to make it a little bit better than it used to be.
Yeah, those Hib smoky barbecue and like you throw those in there, air fryer 360 for 25, flip halfway through, voila, some baked wings.
There you go.
Go ham. Get you some sauce if you want to go halfway through. Get the tub going. Boom. You can make it eat. The air fryer just changes it, especially the Ninja air fryer.
Mm-hmm.
What you know about that Ninja air fryer? Yeah, hell of a good. Just you're welcome. Like you don't even need to say much more. You're welcome. Hell of a good. Your life has been changed. You're welcome.
I can vouch for them, and they have a variety of different flavors too.
If you want the perfect chips with the hell of a good, you get the kettle cooked jalapeno lays. You get the kettle cooked jalapeno lays. You mix them with the hell of a good. Now, if you want to really get crazy with the hell of a good, you mix it with paste picante. It's a pink sauce. Now, if you don't want to use the paste picante because the onions kind of get in it, just use like your favorite salsa. Mix it with the hell of a good. It's a pink dip, and then you'll bring it to a party, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, what did you put in this?" I can't tell you. Secret recipe. It goes back to my great girl. I really can't tell you, but it's salsa mixed with the hell of a good.
I can't tell you, but it only takes 2 ingredients.
Where are you at on the buffalo chicken dip?
If done right, it's excellent. Usually, I just feel like a lot of people just don't get the ratios right.
See, I also like. I think we kind of overthink it, but I do think that just a pizza, you can't do wrong with a pizza. Like it's a nice feeling when you hear that doorbell ring on Super Bowl Sunday, and it's a pizza, and like you got to tip the driver way extra because they're grinding their ass off.
Super Bowl Sunday, hell yeah.
Super Bowl Sunday, but like just hearing that doorbell, because I remember back in the day when, man, you order a pizza before the Super Bowl, it ain't getting there till halftime. Halftime. But nowadays they're just so crazy with it. But just the satisfaction of getting that doorbell ring and the old school pizza, can't go wrong with that. There you go.
Everybody's got a giant deal this year too. It feels like, except for one wing place is only offering free ranch if you spend $50. It's like, come on, you could do better than that.
Are you in on the guacamole?
It's not a must by any means.
There's
And by the end of the first quarter, it's brown.
Yeah, the guacamole is there's always a lot of effort that goes into the guacamole. What about the cocktail weenies?
Oh yeah, I'm in on that. Especially if you have the right device, so you don't have to just fork every single one of them. You get like a spoonful of them.
Man, if the Texans were in the Super Bowl, we would have been there. But I would have probably I would have just rather just watched it at the house with the wife, the daughter, the dog, and just waited to stream. Like, I wouldn't want to be at a big party. It's weird because I think the bigger the game, the less the party that I want. Like, if you told me hey, it's preseason, all right, let's go somewhere and hang out and chill. But if you say hey, this is a big game, I think it's the less crowd you want.
Oh yeah, smaller. Circle gets smaller as the game gets bigger.
People have very polarizing opinions about guac, by the way.
Swarm.
Gustavo says, appreciate the meet and greet, fellas. Scored a couple cards, was pretty cool. Nevertheless,
I don't think he says he's never been before.
Oh, never been to TriStar?
Yeah.
He went to who did he see?
Jeff Kent.
Oh, Jeff Kent. There you go. Shout out to Jeff Kent. Should have worn a Barry Bonds jersey. Should have worn a Barry Bonds jersey and tried to knuckle up. Everyone's all on this HEB brisket queso. I don't like brisket queso. I like ground beef and queso. That's really as far as I push it with that. I'm not big in the brisket queso.
Yeah, I'm more of a ground beef and queso if I have an option type of guy.
All right. So there we go. I guess the good news, people saying they'd have anxiety if the Texans made it. Well, you won't have any anxiety this weekend.
I think that most people would welcome that anxiety.
So coming up tomorrow on the show, there's a prospect that's getting a lot of hype. Should he be a no-brainer for the Texans, or would this make you question D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio even more? Talk about that, a lot more. Happy Super Bowl week to all. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Why'd you take my potato skins?